Hey everybody, so it is February 1st and I'm officially 14 weeks as of yesterday, so 14 weeks one day. And I know I said I would update you guys mid to end January with the gender, and unfortunately I'm still waiting. So that's why this is delayed, because I was hoping to find out and make a really nice video for you guys, but what can you do? Not my fault. So I guess let me back up. Last time I talked to you guys was end of December, updating you completely. So it's been like a month ago. And since then, December 2nd, I had my very first OBGYN appointment, and it went well. Honestly, they make you do this full physical exam, and I don't know about you guys, but for me, anytime I get a pap smear, normally even when I'm not pregnant, it is totally uncomfortable, and it hurts me. And I talked to the doctor about not doing that, you know, at this point, because I didn't want to irritate my cervix and cause any additional bleeding or, you know, anything like that that normally happens to me. And she said that it is really good to have done, you know, especially when you're pregnant, just to make sure there's nothing abnormal, nothing that can affect the baby, blah, blah, blah. So anyways, I went ahead and proceeded with it reluctantly, and they were a lot better there than my normal physician's office that normally does it, but it was still bad. Afterwards, it was lots of cramping. I could feel where she scraped it off, you know, it just like, ugh. And I had bleeding that day, the next day, the day after, a little bit. I mean, it was just, I don't know. I don't like it. I'm just glad it's over with. She's like, oh, now you don't have to worry about it for 3 more years. And I was like, yeah, I don't mind the exam part. I don't mind the speculum. Just that literally that scraping part causes me so much discomfort. But so they did that. They also did a ultrasound, which I was surprised. I wasn't expecting that, since my sister, who's also pregnant, goes there, and they didn't, from what she told me, didn't do an ultrasound the first time. So that was a surprise. And I got to see the little baby, and it was awesome. When she measured the baby was measuring 5 days or 4 or 5 days less than what I thought it was. But their machine didn't seem the best to me. So I took it a little, you know, lightheartedly, but it still caused some concern with the baby not measuring correctly. You know, it's a little bit stressful. So they did that. They did so much blood work. I mean, 8 tubes or 10 tubes, like about that. I mean, pretty decent sized tubes. 2 of them were for that Harmony blood test that determines the gender, and it determines your Down syndrome risk. I think there's a couple other things it does, but those are the 2 main things. And the other ones were, you know, basic blood work, and then your other genetic testings, and then they were trying to find out my blood type and all that good stuff. So those are the main things that happened during my first visit. Heartbeat was very fast still. Yeah, I think that's everything that happened that day. They gave me a couple things that they wanted me to go do. One of them I still haven't done, but it was it's an EKG, where they go and they put the electrodes on you, and it's a quick test, but I just haven't got a chance to go all the way to the hospital and do it, since they don't do it there, you know. The other thing was a 24-hour urine collection, and gosh, I did that, and that had to be by far the weirdest thing. Like, not only are you stuck home confined to, you know, when you're pregnant, you have to pee more. So you're like pretty much stuck home confined to peeing in this jug. You have to pee in it for 24 hours. and it has to be kept cold. Like when they told me this, I literally was like, people are keeping this jug of urine in their refrigerator. Like it sounded so nuts to me. Like, I'm just so glad that's over with. There's so many weird things that happen that you just don't expect, you know, or know about. And then they just get thrown at you when you go to your doctor's appointments. But, I got that turned in. So, when I was at my first appointment, they, let me back up for a second. I'm not sure if I told you guys this before, but back at the beginning of this year when I first started going through the process of getting diagnosed with PCOS and going to do a bunch of tests, MRIs. No, I told you guys about the MRI my doctor had me do. It showed that I have a partial bicornuate uterus. And the best way I can explain it is one of my horns, like instead of it being one big open area, I have two horns, and it kind of comes down like, I'm not good at this. Anyways, it makes like a heart. So it's like kind of heart shaped, and it's separate, not completely. If it's completely, it's septated. Mine's partially. So whenever I told her that, even though it's not completely down, she wanted to refer me to a specialist who's about an hour and a half away, and just to help me further understand how that could complicate my labor, how it could affect my pregnancy, just a few things. I found out more once I went. So after I got referred, a couple weeks later, I got in there for my first visit at it's a perinatal specialist, and they didn't do more blood work there because you know, where I went here, they had already done the majority, so it wasn't any blood work, but they just went over everything so detail oriented. Like, they're very overly cautious, which I guess that's what, you know, you get from a specialist. But they did this, it wasn't just a normal ultrasound, it was like an extra, they went way further into detail than, oh look, here's the baby, there's the heartbeat. They were like, you know, looking at, what's that word? Something in the spinal, it's like something in the spinal fluid they measure, and if it's too small or too big, it can signify a retardation risk, like Down syndrome or something like that. So they measured that. They measured like the neck on the back of the skin on the back of your neck. I can't talk. And that's another sign, you know, if that's too thick, it can signify something. They looked for facial deformities to make sure there's nothing, you know, cleft lip or anything like that. They measured my cervix to see how thick it was, because I guess one of the biggest risks with having a bicornuate uterus is the cervix can be incompetent. So it can cause you to have your water break early. It can cause you to go into early labor. Like, there's so many things. So they like to make sure it stays nice and thick. So all of the retardation signs they checked for all came back negative. So that was really good news, that everything was looking good. No facial deformities. The baby was measuring right back where it was supposed to be. So the measurement that they had done here locally must have been wrong, you know, when they measured the baby off. So that made me feel good too, knowing the baby was measured back to where it should be. The cervical thickness was 4.25, and they want it to stay over a 2.5. So that was really good. And if it starts dropping below that, that's when you get to, if they catch it soon enough, they can do something called a cerclage, and that's where they could stitch it back up, you know, if it started deteriorating too soon. So, but as of now, it looks good. I'm also asthmatic. I was born with asthma. So they explained to me, you know, how that could affect my labor, which didn't seem like it would. too much. She said something about, you know, all the chemicals that start flowing when you're in labor. It kind of like pushes that away, the way she was explaining it to me. But I mean, obviously I'll still be prepared with my inhalers and my, you know, if they need to put me on a treatment, you know, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with it, but there's a few things you have to do if you are asthmatic to get your breathing back under control. What was the other risk? That was the two main things that they told me about when I left there. But yeah, I mean, I had left there with some really good news. So she told me starting at 16 weeks, they want to see me every 2 weeks to make sure that my cervix is staying nice and thick. So 16, 18, 20, all the way up until 24, 26. She wants to keep having me come back. And as long as it's still looking good, then they'll, you know, stop worrying about it. But they just want to make sure it stays nice and thick. Since the baby has less room because mine curves down and it's, you know, not naturally supposed to be like that. So my appointment for that, not this Thursday, next Thursday. I believe it's in about 2.5 weeks. Yeah, 2.5 weeks or 3 weeks from now. Because they actually did it when I was past 16 weeks by a few days. But anyway, so I'm excited to get up there. When I went to the specialist, I was 11 weeks, 2 days. So it's been, you know, by the time I go back, it's been a while. And I'm curious to see if my cervix is still withholding. I really don't want to do the cerclage. Obviously, I will if I have to. But it just makes me feel a little weird going under anesthesia and having like a minor surgery. I don't know. You know, it's one of those things you'd rather avoid if you could. So, yeah, that was that. So a couple weeks after that, that brings us up to, oh, I forgot a part. The specialist decided that they asked me, like they drilled me on all my history. And I told them I have PCOS. And I told them, you know, about what my mom has and, you know, all the family history. And because I have PCOS, even though I don't have problems with my sugar, and my mom has type 2 diabetes, which, you know, that means it's because of her diet. It's not genetic. They actually made me do a early glucose test, which that's like the dreaded test, you know. It's like 2 or 3 hours long. Actually, some only have a 1 hour, so it's 1 to 3 hours long. And you have to drink this 10-ounce bottle of what they described to me as this sugary drink, like on crack pretty much. It's just this really strong, like, so on an empty stomach too, fasting, which was the worst part for me because I mean I figured I could get through it. It's just I haven't had nausea or morning sickness, but I am the type of person, especially being pregnant, I have to eat. If I don't eat, I will get sick. I've always been like that. And it's even more so now. Like, if I don't eat, I get nauseous. It's like, we are hungry. So, that was, today is Sunday. That was not this past Friday, the Friday before last. So a week and a half ago. And I went and did that. The lady told me the day before to try to, like, you know, eat really good to help my test chances. And I really wasn't worried about it because I've never really had a problem with my sugar. So I actually did have some Skittles and stuff I shouldn't have had the day before. But for dinner, I did do like chicken breast and salad, something like really low sugar, you know, not lots of breads and stuff. So I also had some eggs and bacon right before midnight because that was my cutoff, midnight. My test was at 8:30 the next morning. So I, you know, went to sleep. Of course, I was like starving still, just probably because I knew I couldn't eat. I wanted to eat. But I ended up getting to go to sleep. And I woke up that next morning. I got there. Come to find out, my doctor's office, who said they scheduled my test, actually didn't. And I guess this is an ongoing problem. But they were able to squeeze me in. I just had to wait an extra hour. So I'm sitting in the waiting room like, I'm so hungry. I don't know how I made it, but So an hour went by, and then they finally took me back. They draw your blood to get like a fasting blood level, and then they give you 5 minutes on a timer to drink this drink. Back in the day, from what my mom said, it was this nasty orange soda type thing. Now they actually have different flavors. I personally did the lemon lime flavor, and it tasted like bad Sprite, but it was tolerable. Like, it wasn't like I was gagging it up, you know, it was definitely tolerable. So I got that down in the 5 minutes, and then they go make you sit in this room for an hour while you're sitting there. You haven't eaten, you just drank this nasty stuff. You're just like kind of miserable, but my husband came with me, so it made it better. And then after a little while, another pregnant girl came in there, and she was doing the test with me, so that made it even more, because she could relate, you know. So after my first hour, I went back in there, and they were able to get the vein on my other arm. So, you know, then I had this arm and this arm both punched. It has to be from the arm. So I knew that the third draw, which was another hour after that, they would have been double hitting one of my veins, because I guess for some reason it has to come from the arm. So, sorry, I got interrupted. I think I was talking about how on the third draw they were getting me from my same arm. Yes, I think I was. Anyways, I didn't realize how much more it hurts when they're hitting the same place twice. And it not only like does it hurt more, but it bleeds more afterwards. And I had a huge bruise. Like, it's still bruised, and it's been a week and a half. So that lets you know. I mean, oh, I can't. But I'm just glad it's over. So then after that was over, I was really hyper, and I just wanted to go eat. The only thing I really wanted was French fries. So I just ate some French fries, and yeah, pretty much came home and went about my normal day. It didn't make me feel funny all day like some people were saying it did. I just kind of jumped right back. After I got my snack, I jumped right back into my day, and I was fine. So, yeah, if that gives you some insight. They will be having me, even though, well, I'll tell you the, you know, results from all these tests I've been telling you about, because the following week is when I found out about my results. But even if you passed or failed or anything this one, they still will make you redo the 28-week, the original glucose test when it's supposed to be at, I believe, 24 to 28 weeks, which I found that stupid. But I guess your hormone levels change at that point. So, anyways, Saturday I had a baby class. I've been going to baby classes and stuff, me and my hubby, and they've been really good. And then Saturday night, after we went grocery shopping after the class, I started feeling really sick. It was probably like the worst sickness I've had since being pregnant. And it was that flu feeling. I got so achy. I was like cold, freezing cold. And I shouldn't have been. I immediately, you know, where's the thermometer? I feel like I have a fever. So sure enough, I had a fever. The only thing you can really take when you're pregnant is acetaminophen, Tylenol. There's a few other things my doctor told me about after the fact, but I mean, that was the main thing that I knew was safe. And so I was taking that. It would bring it down, you know, out of the hundreds back to 99 point something, but it just wasn't breaking it completely. So I dealt with that along with chest, coughing, my throat was hurting, my nasals, like it was just a mess. So that was going on Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So Monday I called the nurse at my doctor's office and told her what was going on, and she said that even if I didn't have a fever still that night, because it really spiked at night, which is normal, you know, most of the time when you're sick, it's always worse at night. But she said even if I didn't have a fever Monday night to come in Tuesday morning, that she could squeeze me in. I had an appointment Thursday anyways, but they wanted to get me in Tuesday. So I went in the doctor's, and they like did a couple tests or whatever just to make sure I didn't have anything, you know, else going on, but my tonsils and my throat looked really bad, so they just assumed it was some kind of throat infection, and they gave me is it Augmentin for a few days, just like a, you know, nothing drawn out, just a couple days just to help clear it up, because, you know, it's better to do things the natural way while pregnant. So I just was doing hot tea, Tylenol. I did the Augmentin for a couple days. While I was at the doctor's on Tuesday, I also found out a lot of my results. I passed the glucose test, yay! And I got all my blood work that they had done at my first appointment had come back, except one. But everything had come back all, you know, normal, and it made me really happy to know that everything was looking good. So the thing that didn't come back, which you probably already know this, is the harmony test. So I guess they couldn't pull the DNA from my blood, and I ended up having to go back in and get redrawn so that they could redo the test. And, you know, as if you're not already anxious enough after waiting the 2 to 3 weeks to get the results the first time, can you imagine having to go back in and do it all over again? So, anyways, as of today's Sunday, as of Tuesday, or no, I went back in on a Monday and redrew. As of tomorrow, it'll be 2 weeks since I've redrawn. So I'm hoping sometime this week they call me with some news, because I'm getting anxious. But the only other thing, baby-wise, to update you on is Saturday morning. I had another baby class, and where I go, sometimes, you know, they do ultrasounds every so often. So they ended up doing an ultrasound on me, and we got to see the baby yesterday. So that was pretty cool. It looks so much bigger now. It was flipped all upside down and kicking his or her, I don't even know, kicking its feet and moving all around and stretching, and it was just so cool to see. And it was weird, like, you can see the spine, like every little notch, and you can see it. It's just awesome. I actually brought my mom, my husband, and my brother with me, and my husband always comes with me to them, but my mom and brother have never been to one. And I mean, of course, my mom, when she was pregnant with her kids and stuff, but my brother had never ever seen one, and they hadn't been with me at all. So it was really neat to do that with them. And we spent a whole day together going and looking around at baby stores and going out to dinner. It was really fun. So yeah, that is everything. I have a specialist appointment in 2.5 weeks. My next local OB's office wants to see me February 23rd, I think. I have to see an asthma specialist soon. We should know the sex soon. I'm just playing a big giant waiting game, but it feels really good to be in the second trimester and out of all that. The first trimester is so scary because you hear about all the risks and chances of anything could happen. I mean, anything can still happen, but your chances are so much less once you get, you know, to the second trimester. So I can't believe I'm already a third of the way through this pregnancy, and I just already can't wait to meet my little baby. And yeah, just really excited. So I hope everything's going good with you guys. As far as my weight, I've only gained, my doctor only wanted me to gain 11 to 15 pounds about during the whole pregnancy. And I've only gained about 2 pounds so far, maybe 2 or 3. Yeah, not really sure. But it was somewhere in there. So they're very happy with where I'm at. And I think that was the main thing. They cut my metformin down from 1,000 milligrams down to 500. They'll probably end up taking me off of that completely before the baby comes. Prenatal vitamins every day. Yeah, I think that's everything. Oh, my progesterone cream. I've been continuing that ever since after that positive ovulation. continued using that once a day. And if you got pregnant, you know, which I did, you're supposed to continue it throughout your first trimester, because that's when your body is building the placenta. And, you know, you don't want to just stop it all of a sudden. Sudden drops of hormones can cause miscarriage. So, I'm still doing that. I'm just going to do it probably till I see my specialist, just to make sure it's okay to stop it in a couple weeks. So I know I'm probably in the clear, but I just like to run it by them before I stop anything. So another random thing was at the ultrasound yesterday. The girl, you know how you can have your placenta on, it can either be posterior, anterior. Some people have it placenta previa, where it's blocking the cervix, which that's kind of where you don't want it to be, because then it's hard to have a natural birth. But, you know, there's all different kinds, or places, I should say. And no one had told me this, not even my specialist, when they did their really invasive ultrasound. But she was saying that she saw an anterior and a posterior placenta. And I thought that was crazy, because I don't know, it just didn't make any sense why the specialist didn't see it, but then they just are now finding it. And then, like, why? Like she said, it's normal. Sometimes people have to. I mean, I Googled it last night, and all I could really find is sometimes there's a thing called a disappearing twin, where there would have been two, but one didn't grow. I don't know. I can't wait to get some more answers about that in a couple weeks. So, yeah, that's pretty much where I stand. Sorry, I'm so scatterbrained. I hope I went in somewhat of an understandable order. But it's getting to be about lunchtime, and then we're going to go over to Aaron's family's house and have a little Super Bowl get-together. And, yeah, that's pretty much what's going on. So, bye, everybody. Nice catching up.